Hello, everyone. It is a great honor to be here, and I just want to share with you what a great pleasure to come to Tianjin again. What I'm going to talk about today is the title is The Shared Future of Humans and AI. I'm going to discuss a little bit about current developments and improvements of artificial intelligence, along with talking about how it can reform our society in the near future. Before I get started, I just want to share with you guys what a great pleasure to come to Tianjin again. I can still recall the first time when I was Tianjin, when I was still a little boy, like 7 or 8 years ago. And ever since then, I came to Tianjin every 1 or 2 years. And it's like every time when I was here, Tianjin was different. And and I was always amazed and shocked by the great changes that had taken places in Tianjin, in every 1 or 2 years. And actually, as Tianjin rapidly developed, my impression about Tianjin evolves as well. I can still recall when I was a little boy, all I cared about is food, as you know. And my greatest impression about Tianjin is its food. Tianjin is a city of its great food. We got manhua here, we got gobuli baozi here, we got all different great food here. And then when I was in junior high school, my geography teacher told me Tianjin is a city with a great port city. It is a city with one of the largest deep sea harbor in the world. And now my impression about Tianjin is modernization. It's how modern and intelligent it is. And Tianjin has gradually evolved from the port city to the smart port city. And if speaking of smartness and intelligence, something that you really cannot miss is AI, is artificial intelligence. And that is what I'm going to talk about today. I think the first question we ask is how you can use a few words to explain artificial intelligence. To get to there, we need to first understand what is intelligence and how to make intelligence artificial. So actually, in the history, there have been many great thinkers giving different definitions about intelligence. And these thinkers touches different level of intelligence and which may give some implications. For example, one of the greatest thinkers in Chinese history,孔子. What he said about his intelligence is, he has a famous saying, 知之为知之, 不知为不知, 为智也. It means it is smart and intelligence if you admit what you know and acknowledge what you don't know. From what孔子said, he means intelligence is about knowledge, it's about fact. And you should know, to be intelligent, a person should know what he knows and what he doesn't know. And next comes Mengzi, Mencius. He steps a bit further than孔子. What he said is, 是非之心智也. It means intelligence is not just about fact and knowledge. It's about 是 and 非, right? It's about right and wrong. And it is a smart person should be able to distinguish what is right and what is wrong, and which is a premise of doing right things. And then it comes to modern time, and one of the founding fathers of AI in 1950s is this great scientist called Marvin Minsky. And what he said about intelligence is the ability to solve hard problems. And from these three great thinkers, you can exactly see three different levels of intelligence. From孔子, right, it's about knowing the facts and knowing the knowledge. And then to Marvin Minsky, it's about the ability to use this knowledge to solve hard problems. And this is the second stage. What's the final stage? And actually, Mengzi gives the second stage. It's about right and wrong. You need to use your knowledge not only to solve these hard problems, but to know what is right and what is wrong and do the right things. And this is intelligence. And then, what is artificial intelligence? In summary, artificial intelligence is to teach and help computers to do these three types of things for our humans. It's about acquire knowledge and use knowledge to solve problems, and to use knowledge to tell you what is right and what is wrong, and do the right things. And actually, I would say this might be the three kind of stages of artificial intelligence. And I'm going to keep it here, and I'm going to go back later. So actually, AI now is everywhere. And as some of you might not be aware of, AI has been quietly instilled into our everyday life. And think about these personal assistants. like Apple's Siri, Amazon's Echo. And as you may not be aware of, and these things have gradually changed the way we communicate. For example, my nephew, who is now like 7 or 8 years ago, every day before he goes to school, he's going to say goodbye to Echo, goodbye to this personal assistant. And this personal assistant is going to respond to him back. And also for the machine translation, right? It's like now, like when we are in a foreign country, we don't really have to worry about the fact that we don't really know the foreign languages. And this machine translation algorithm is going to help us. For example, and as another example, the research field that I and some of my colleagues work on is called natural language processing. It's about language. It's about to teach machines to understand language and to teach machines to understand the semantics and the meaning of the languages. And actually, it has a ton of applications in our real world. For example, some current researchers have found that AI algorithms, it's way better than humans in terms of deciding which news is fake. As you know, like some news are deliberately made by these malicious people trying to deceive the readers. And AI actually is really good at detecting the subtle differences in the usage of languages and tell you, well, this news is fake and this news is truth. And actually, before I came here, I read on the internet about, and from the other social kinds of media, and saying like, oh, like we are trying to, in Tianjin, we are trying to implement this intelligent public transit system, and also building a smart city. If you think building a smart city, it involves millions and millions of small sectors that involve artificial intelligence. And that's what I said. Artificial intelligence has been quietly instilled in our daily life. Maybe we are not aware of. I think another question that we are talking about today is one of the hottest topic about AI is, and also the biggest concern is whether it can conquer humans and whether it can conquer the world and destroy humans. And actually, this is one of the topic brought by Dr. Stephen Hawking. He was really afraid that AI is going to conquer the world in the very near future. So actually, in many, recall that I talked about 3 levels of AI for AI, 3 levels of intelligence for AI development, from the fact to using fact to solve problems, and then to using knowledge to distinguish right from wrong. So actually, the reason why we cannot, most people say AI is far from destroying us is because AI and humans, they specialize in different things. And they have the things they specifically they are good at, and they have things that they're not good at. For example, AI is really good at doing repetitive work. It is really doing things that require lots of math computations, but what AI is not good at. For example, AI is not really good at making decisions from a very complicated scenarios and convoluted situations. For example, AI is really good at playing Ghost and doing calculations millions and millions of times per second. But AI cannot really tell you how to build a large city like Tianjin or how to plan out your career path. And in that way, AI is far from destroying us. And right. And then the reason why, and what I'm gonna talk about next is these 3 guys. These 3 guys are responsible for the current development, this round of popularity in AI. I'm wondering whether some of you have asked this question oh, why suddenly AI become a hot topic in the past few years? And why wasn't AI popular 20 years ago? And actually, these 3 guys and the algorithm that they invented called a specific type of algorithm called deep learning. And it's responsible for this round of popularity and the great improvements in efficiency of the algorithm. So actually, deep learning is also called, with another name, called artificial neural networks. And probably some of you can tell the meaning of this, you can tell the meaning of these algorithms from its name, artificial neural networks. And these algorithms were invented trying to imitate how our brain works. And that's the reason why it's called neural. It's trying to imitate how our neural systems make decisions. And actually, these algorithms were invented in the 1940s and 1950s. But all of a sudden, in our time, it suddenly become efficient. And then the reason is why they become efficient. This comes to the 3 prerequisites to build smart deep learning AIs now. And actually, without these 3 elements, you cannot really build an efficient algorithm. And from these 3 aspects, you can probably know why deep learning models now are different from what they used to be. For example, the 3 elements are as follows. You need big data. You need lots and lots of training data to train your model on. You need a huge computing power. And now we have moved from CPUs to now to GPUs and parallel distributed GPU systems. And these systems provide great computing power. And third is deep learning models. And there's an old saying in Chinese saying like 巧妇难为无米之炊, right? It means however good a cook you are, if you don't really have good ingredients, and if you don't really have a good cooking pans or cooking tools, you cannot really cook delicious food. So you can think this deep learning model as this good cook. And then the big data is the ingredients, and the cooking tools are the computing power. This cook, which is the deep learning model, has to use the computing power, which are the cooking tool, to cook the ingredients, which is big data. And as you know, over the past 10 or 15 years, we got way more data than we used to have. And also for computing power, we got more advanced computing power than we used to have. And these aspects are those actually make neural networks models work today. Then speaking of the big data, so actually now everyone is talking about China. Everyone is talking about AI in China. It's comparing all the AI things from between China and the States. And then this goes to why China is a really good place for AI, and because we have a lot of big data. And think about how many smartphone users and website users in China. And people are collecting data all around the clock, and we can train our algorithms on these data. And data is not the only reason explaining for China's advantages in AI. And as some of surveys have shown that exactly in the past 1 or 2 years, papers published on the top-tier AI conferences by Chinese researchers have already surpassed those published by Americans, researchers in the United States. And also the funding thing, right? The support from government and support from the society. And if you compare the funding raised by AI startups, and China's AI startups is greater than the States. I think most importantly, that I'm going to talk about now is talents. And I can exactly experience now for students who got advanced degree, for example, master degree or PhD degree from top-tier university at the United States, they are coming back. And actually, there is a trend. When I talked with my advisor at Stanford, Dan Drafsky, and he said he had taught 20 years at Stanford. And in the early 15 years, he hadn't seen anyone who obtained PhD degrees at Stanford come back to China. But now, in 2017, I graduated from Stanford in 2017, and actually all the 3 classmates who graduated and who are from mainland China all came back to China. And this indicates the great opportunities in China here. This comes to the closure to my talk. I just described a little bit about the current development of AI systems, and give some hint on how it can reform our future. And basically, AI has its role, AI agents have its role, and humans have its role. And I'm really looking forward to see a world that AI agents and humans live together. And they specialize in different things, and they're going to make us a better world. Thank you very much.